Hey, mamas, good evening, good evening. Okay, I know it's really late, and I don't normally go to live this late, but we are winding down to the end of tax season, and so I wanted to like maintain my schedule, but get all my work done for the day. And Tuesday nights I have my women's group, um, where I get to meet with the women from my church. So I wanted to take some time um, and talk a little bit about why some businesses are really thriving right now and others aren't. And people are like, well, it's whether or not you're somewhere where you can be open or closed or and that's I think an overgeneralization. Okay? Because so I'm in Connecticut where we shut down really really early, but we didn't shut down, right? And so businesses could continue to sell under very strict parameters. And what we saw, right, is we saw a divergence between businesses that did unbelievably well and thrived and grew their customer base and businesses that just shut their doors. And so I want to talk a little bit tonight because I think that this is something that translates for all businesses, no matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you're a restaurant, it doesn't matter if you sell a physical product, if you sell a service. Um, I think these two things are critically important to your success going forward, no matter what happens. Because I think a lot of business owners are starting to worry about the next round of shutdowns, right? The next round of closures. And so if if you happen to survive the first one, um, and you're worried about surviving the second, please, please watch this, okay? So this is really simple, but it's gonna, it's funny because I ask my bookkeepers to do this in bookkeeper training school, and a lot of times they resist me on this. I ask my customers to do this, and they resist me on this. Um, you need to know, you need to know two things. You need to know what your ideal customers want and how they want it. But the problem is, most business owners are resistant to coming up with an ideal client. Okay, so what is an ideal client? An ideal client is the ideal person that you want to hire you or buy from you in your business. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, but wait, no, I'm going to sell to everybody. Okay, the problem with talking to everyone is that you actually talk to no one. And so, even me, when I come on and talk to you guys, I have a vision of my ideal client. Okay, she has a name, she has a picture, she has a business. I know exactly who she is in my mind. And so, when I do, so like when I come up with an idea for what I'm going to talk about on here, okay, I say, would my ideal person, right, this person I pictured in my mind, would this be something that's interesting to her? Would this be something that she's really struggling with? Would this be something that we could have a conversation about? And if I say like no, that's not her wheelhouse, no, that's not something she's worried about, then I don't talk about it. All right, I do this for my podcast. I do this for our messaging for bookkeeper training school. Um, and it's really funny because I know I've actually had people comment on our ads for bookkeeper training school. They've said, so we target moms. Okay, we do. We target moms with littles. And it's a much broader, I'm sorry, it's a much more detailed, ideal customer than that. But to boil it down, it's moms with littles who want to stay home with their kids. And people are like, well, if you did ads that targeted, dads and older people and this and that, you could sell a lot more subscriptions. And I say, you know what? We already sell to those people. Because by targeting moms, right? And our tagline is, that I help create, I help moms create a business while their kids are napping. Now, it's funny because like people laugh and be like, my kids don't nap. But then they go, wait a minute, well, the average kid doesn't nap very long. If I could build a business in the amount of time that my kids should be napping, that's not like a full-time job. Like that's kind of in the margins, right? And so we have people who are retiring. We have people whose kids are older. We have dads. We have we have moms and daughters. We have all sorts of different people who join because they get the idea of creating a business in that time period. Hey Tammy, it's nice to see you live. Um it's interesting because people really resist having that target. Um, but even if you look at companies like Procter and Gamble, right? Procter and Gamble, big consumer products company. They for each of their products, okay, so if you go into the marketing department for each of their products, there is an ideal customer. And that ideal customer has a name and a photo and a whole profile. And so when they create ads or marketing messages or Facebook posts or whatever it is for that brand, they are always talking to the same person. And Procter and Gamble is great with their advertising. They do a wonderful job, and they're the company that really has some of the gold standard brands in consumer products. Um, and so, if a company like Procter and Gamble, right, P&G, is putting together these profiles, and you're sitting there going, "No, I can't do that because I can't niche myself down." Um, I think you need to think about it again, okay? Because here's the thing, right? The thing that I find, especially when I work with small businesses in this day and age, okay, and the reason that the whole thing that sprung this conversation and me thinking about this was I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal that was talking about how chains are doing really well, like chain restaurants are doing really, really well, and mom and pop restaurants are not. And why is that? And it's funny because they don't really get down to like the root of it. They just kind of like talk about, chains are doing better, mom and pops aren't. And I don't, and that may be generally the case, but there are also like there are some individual restaurants out here that are doing phenomenal. Parking lots full, lots of takeout, like just crazy insane. And so the ones that are doing it know what their customers want. Okay, they know what their customers want and they know how they want it. And so what do I mean by that? So what do your customers want? What products and services are you delivering that your customers need? So for example, um, we have a local hardware store in town that they're surrounded by Lowe's and Home Depot. Okay, um, I can go to Lowe's and Home Depot. I think there are three of them within 10 minutes of my house. Okay, um, Home Depot, Lowe's and Home Depot, Lowe's and Home Depot. I'm sorry, there are five within 10 minutes of my house. And this little Ace locally owned hardware store survives in my town. Why? Because if I need to buy something and I have no idea what I'm doing, I go there because they are super insane knowledgeable, right? And I started to think about, okay, so what are some of the hardware stores around us that failed? And they were typically hardware stores who hired teenagers, like as Home Depot and Lowe's came in, they hired teenagers to run their stores. And no offense to the teenagers, but the teenagers didn't know how to fix a lot of things. And so when somebody like me would go in and say, I'm sorry, I don't know what I need for this, but this is what's happening. This is the issue I'm having. And you went into that hardware store and they had no idea how to help you. Right? Have you ever seen that where you've gone into a store and you've chosen the local business because you want that level of service, you need the help. right? And the staff just isn't there to help you. And you're like, well, I might as well go to the big box store if I'm not going to get the service, right? And so you have to understand, what do people want from you, right? Is it knowledge? Is it is it ease of access? Right? What are people looking for you? And it's like for my bookkeepers, why are local businesses going to hire you rather than hiring QuickBooks? Because now QuickBooks offers a bookkeeping service and it's insanely expensive and it's not very personalized and you're just kind of another number. If that's what you want, okay. But that's not what most people want, right? Most people want somebody to help hold their hand through the process, right? And so really that's what people are looking for, right? If you think about it. That's what people are looking for from their service providers. Um, somebody can go to H&R Block, right, to get their taxes done, but they hire me because I walk the journey with them. It's funny, I messaged one of my clients and I'm like, hey, did you realize your license is expired? And she went, oh no, I had no idea. Right? H&R Block is not going to do that. They're going to put in the data and they're not going to care. Right? I look at my clients and say, hey, this looks different than last year. Or, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? I was giving my clients app suggestions. I was giving them, if you pay for your subscriptions annually, you can save some money. Like that's kind of how my brain works, right? I'm like, how can we all improve business and do business better? Right? So that's just kind of the way I think. And a lot of those services out there, they're not going to do that. Okay. So what is it about your service that makes you stand out from the big guys out there? Okay. So that's one thing, right? It's the what do they want from you? The second piece is how do they want it delivered? Right? So, it's funny because one of my clients, I fought with them for years to set up a Facebook page. I swear to God, to set up a Facebook page. I'm like, you need a Facebook page because people are going to be on Facebook. They're going to see your pictures. They're going to see your website. It's going to be 2 o'clock in the morning and they're just going to want to message you. They don't want to pick up the phone and call. They don't want to fill out a form on your website. They just want to Facebook message you. And they're like, no, we don't want to do that. No, 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 no. Well, a year ago, I finally got them to set up a Facebook page. And you know what happens? They get leads at like 11 o'clock at night because people are scrolling through Facebook and they're like, oh, wow, I'd like to get some landscaping done. And they click on the button and they message the page. Right? And it's funny because like they didn't believe me that that's how people wanted to interact with them. I gotta say, guys, millennials, okay, so basically, so I'm on the cusp, right, for millennials. So a lot of you that are watching are millennials. Do you like picking up the phone? I'll tell you, most of the people in bookkeeper training school, and I'm like, just pick up the phone. They're like, I don't want to talk on the phone. I don't want to pick up the phone. I don't want to do the phone. I don't like the phone. We're not doing phone, right? A lot of people don't like doing phone. And so if people don't like doing phone, you have to give other options for connecting with you. Um, so it's funny because I wanted to order from a restaurant and they had sent me an email. I downloaded their app because, like I said, I'm on the cusp of millennial, right? If I have the option to order through an app to get my takeout, I'm going to order through the app to get the takeout. There are some restaurants that I like enough that I will call them, okay? But that's because I like them enough. And there's very few restaurants I like that much that I would do that. Um, 9 times out of 10, I'll pick the app, which sometimes means that I will choose a chain restaurant over a local. But I will pay the dollar or the 50 cents or the $1.50 or whatever it is. I will pay to place an order on an app. Okay. And I don't know, maybe that's, let me know, like, if you're not one of those people that will pay, I'll pay extra because I know that that's a cost to the business, to have this technology. I'm willing to pay the fee for that. Um, I don't have an issue with that at all because I don't want to deal with the phone, and I don't want to deal with the calling, and then they're busy because it's a good restaurant and it's a whole thing. Okay. But so think about, so, what barriers have you put up to your clients being able to contact you? So, like, if I go to a website and the website says email, like, here's our email address, email. Don't do that. Put a form on your website. Or let me message you through Facebook. Don't say send an email to. Okay. The more resistance that you put up between me and giving you money, the less likely it is I'm going to hang around to give you money. Okay. So it's really, really simple. Okay. Two things that you need to think about in your business. Well, maybe three. Okay. If you do not have your ideal customer yet, you need to build this person out. So it's funny because I should have Jeff come up with something because he's the world builder. My husband Jeff he does fantasy world building. So if any of you, okay, let's see how geeky my audience is. If any of you have ever played like D&D or any of the role playing games and you've had to build a character, okay, and some of you are going, I don't even know what the hell she's talking about. I don't know. Okay. Ask your friends. If your husband's a geek, ask your husband about this, okay? Ask your friends about this. If you have ever built a character, okay, in a role playing game, this is what you want to do for your ideal customer. Okay, you need the person's name. I'd like to find a picture of them. You want to know what is it they do? How many kids do they have? Are they married? Are they single? Are they divorced? Like, what's their marital status? How much money do they make? Um, and you might be thinking like, this is crazy. Like, why would I do this? Just follow along with me. What are their likes? What are their dislikes? What are their hobbies? What do they like to do on the weekend? What stresses them out? What keeps them up at night? What kind of self care do they like? You sit there going, Kristen, this is crazy. Why am I going to do this? You're going to do this because this tells you, when you get this whole list together, you build this person out, okay? This tells you, well, let's see, if my ideal customer, is a mom of toddlers, where am I going to go to find my ideal customer? I'm going to go hang out in the mommy groups for toddlers, right? So I'm going to go join those groups. I'm going to get to know people. I'm going to contribute to posts. And then what's going to happen is people are going to go, "Oh, who is she? She's in the group. She contributes. She answers questions. She asks questions. Don't be salesy. Don't be salesy." And then what's going to happen is people are going to hover over my profile. And my profile says, "I teach moms how to create a full-time income while their kids are napping as virtual bookkeepers." And do you think there might be some moms in those groups that go, "Ooh, that sounds interesting," and they might check it out? Okay. Um, I now get invited to moms groups all the time. Like, people seek me out and find me and invite me to their groups. That's why it's important. You know what else? Um, yeah, like a character in a book, exactly. Right? So if you're a writer, create a character in your book. If you've ever had to, if you've ever written and you've got to really flesh out a character, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Just like that. Okay. That's what you want to do. Okay. But think about it. So, if and it really helps if you build your ideal customer so that they're interested in some of the same stuff that you are. Okay. Like, I like hanging out in toddler mom groups because I'm a toddler mom, right? I like, I'm a knitter. Okay. I have a cry cut machine or a Cricut machine. I don't know. I still don't know how you're supposed to say it. I don't know. I'm probably going to get yelled at because I said it wrong. Um, but I have a Cricut machine. And so, my ideal customer likes to craft. Okay. A good place to go talk to people, find out, make a little bit of extra money to do your crafting. Huh? Um, But it also, when I do this exercise, it also helps me figure out what are things I should talk about? How do we write our ads? What is bothering this person right now? And I know like some of you have reached out to me and said like, "Wow, thank you for doing that." Like it's like you were talking to me, right? And it's because when you focus in on that person, and I'm not talking to everybody. I'm not talking to everybody. I'm talking to you, right? Because many of you that are watching this right now, you might not be exactly, right? But I know some of you are crafters. I know some of you are toddler moms. And so when I dial in and I talk to that person, right, I'm going to hit points that a lot of you find useful. And it's funny, and it's like I kind of like to like peel back the layers so you can see what we're doing, right? So you can see what we do in our marketing, what we do in our messaging. So you can see that you can do this too. And so tomorrow on the Bookkeeper Training School page, and I still got to figure out when I can schedule this in. It'll probably be around 11. Um, but I'm going to talk about how you get your first customer because a lot of people are very concerned before they sign up for the program. How do I get that first customer? And so I'm going to take like a 20-minute dive. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of examples. I'm going to talk about some stuff that we teach in the course um, to get you moving in that direction so you can start thinking about it. Because the one of the mistakes that new business owners make is that they don't start talking about their business from day one. And day one is not the day you're ready to take new clients. Day one is the day you decide that you're going into business. That's when you have to start talking about your business. So we're going to talk about all that tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. I love, it's great to have people here. Let me know if you have any questions about this or what you think. What are some things that you wish small businesses did better? Okay. I love your feedback on that because there's a lot of small business owners that follow this page that could benefit from that feedback. All right, mamas, thank you so much. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I'll see you tomorrow on the Bookkeeper Training School page.